there were polls indicating that the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, is in the lead in the race. And so those who do not agree with the outcome of those polls, one of them is the governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, who says those polls are not accurate and that, quote, Mr. Obi is just a Nollywood actor, is going nowhere. Tonight, we speak with one of the backers of the Labour Party candidate who dumped the APC. He was a former secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Babachir Lawal. He joins me live here in our election studio. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. And welcome to our election studio.
Thank you.
You enjoy it, isn't it?
Oh, yes, I do.
You love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Let me begin by asking you, how is the race from the last time you were on politics today and now? Anything changed dramatically?
Well, on the side of the Labour Party, you mean? What has changed is that areas where we had not expected Labour to do well, they are galloping through. And the momentum is so much that it's difficult to contain. You know, when this 2023 election season commenced, the Peter Obi was not on the card. During the computations as to what would happen, the expectation was that the race was a straight one between APC and PDP. Then out of nowhere, Peter Obi comes in, and then followed by Rabiu Kwankwaso. And the whole permutations change. Unfortunately for the two parties, the APC and PDP, they didn't have the capacity to factor in these new dynamics, and the thing is overrunning them. As we speak, Peter Obi has run PDP out of Adamawa State. They have run PDP out of Taraba State, Plateau State, Benue State, Kaduna State, and quite a lot of the states in the north where our calculation was we're targeting 25%. But now we are targeting anything from 55 to 70% in majority of the states in the north. Of course, also we had some doubts about whether or not the southeast will come out en masse to support Peter Obi. But to our pleasant surprise, it is now a complete overrun. No party, they only go to southeast to campaign as a form of tourism, you know, and to further demarcate themselves. In the south-south, where we thought we were going to compete on a 50-50 basis with any other party, I mean, maybe PDP, we find ourselves targeting 80-90% in the south-south. So that's why it is. I can tell you that even in the far north, with the so-called far north, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks back, I sent some campaign materials to one of our supporters in Katsina. And when it got to the motor park and the poor man went to collect the campaign materials, the motor park security wanted to see what was in the bag. And when it was discovered that it was Peter Obi dirty T-shirts, they ransacked it. Everybody got a piece of it. And what they were telling the poor man was that in Katsina, they are tired. They've been told over and over to vote for their fellow Muslims. They did vote for their fellow Muslims in past elections, and see where they are. Most of them are now refugees living in the motor parks. So this time around, they will not listen to anybody telling them to vote for their brother because he's a Muslim. Because voting for a Muslim only ended up them ending up in a motor park as refugees.
I mean, you were one of those who preached the APC to Nigerians.
Yes.
You were one of the founding fathers of the APC. Yes. Did you ever envisage, because now you are saying, from your description, it is, or perhaps I should get clarity from you,
yes.
When you say people are tired, what do you mean? Or what do they mean about the situation of things? Well,
in the life of a people that are so oppressed, living under undescribable insecurity, poverty, ignorance, hunger, and disease, a time comes when they get fed up, and a little thing will just ignite the flame, and there's a conflagration. I can tell you that Peter Obi is that conflagration in Nigeria, because every Nigerian has come to realize that there's no way we can continue the way we are doing. And
what is wrong with the state of things right now?
Nothing is working. Nothing is working.
Under the APC government?
Under the APC government, yes. Under this government.
You were one of those who said Nigerians should vote for the APC.
Yes, I've seen the light, my brother. I've seen the light. You can repent when you see the light. I've seen the light. I saw the light and I repented. I'm sorry. I did that before.
Which one is the light now?
The light is Peter Obi.
And which is the darkness?
The darkness is the old system that used to govern us, which is represented by both PDP and APC. No change. Same people, same agbada, same red face caps, also same people. So Nigerians have seen the light. Not only me, Nigerians have seen the light.
You were part of this darkness that you were referring to. You were, in fact, at some point, you were being referred to as one of the cabals and in power.
Not only that, my office was regarded as the engine room of the government. But as I said, you can see the light. You can repent. A sinner does repent, doesn't he?
You had one of those the building blocks of the APC. Yes. What went wrong?
Well, the government didn't function very well. I don't know what. Something has gone wrong, because really government was expected to handle the insecurity. As we talk, I must be very realistic to you. I'm from Adamawa State, and there's no route to which I travel to Yola feeling safe. There's no route in and outside Yola that your car cannot sink into a pothole that you can't see it. Nothing has happened in terms of infrastructure in Adamawa State. Well, security a little bit, it has improved, but it has changed dimensions. We in those days bothered about Boko Haram. Now it is so-called insurgents, faceless people, you don't know who they are. They ransack your farm, they kidnap your people en masse. You pay ransoms, money that you don't have. So things have changed.
But you are one of those who said that President Buhari and the APC had the magic to solve the problem of Nigeria.
I was. Peter, get your
the question is that is it the President Buhari's capacity or something is around him that is not making things work according to your permutation right now?
I can tell you this. I know President Buhari very well, even long before he became president, and most Nigerians also knew him. And the expectation was that based on his antecedents as a former governor of Borno State, former minister of petroleum, and then president, he had shown a remarkable sense of ability to rule. And every Nigerian had hoped that 2023 will be, because by 2025, 2015, we were almost at the same level we are at this time around. People were fed up. But when he got in, I think the president has issues with his lieutenants about who executes the orders he gives and who executes the policies that he makes. And that is really my own side of
you think things went out of his hands?
Things are out of his hands. There's no running away from that fact. I say it.
There are power behind the powers, right?
There are people that don't take the orders they are given. As soon as they leave where the order is given, they go and do different things.
Are these the cabals?
There's nothing like cabal. Cabal. There's no government that doesn't have an inner caucus. There's no government.
Are these the people who you think are spearheading
There are people who have the ear of the president, to whom president, by functionality, their functions in government ought to do things, but they are not doing what the president tells them to do, or what the president expects them to do, or what the society itself expects them to do.
Why do you assume that these people are not doing, are doing these? Do they have any motive? Or why would the president give an order and people around him will not, according to you, are not doing it?
Obviously, it does appear clearly that the president gives orders that nobody obeys. As soon as they say, yes, sir, and they leave, they go and do different things. And these same people, or their kind, are expected to report back results to the president. And if they choose to report the wrong result, what's the poor man going to do?
You are familiar with the inner workings of government at that highest level. And I'd like to ask you, Governor El-Rufai was making mention of the cabals who are working against the victory or the winning possibility of Bola Tinubu. How One would be wondering, who are these people? How powerful could they have been? Can you decipher the kind of things that Governor El-Rufai is describing?
First of all, Shaun, I don't want to engage in idle chatter. The Bible has so many verses warning against idle chatter. And when the president, so I don't want to take Nasir El-Rufai on his idle chatterings all over the place. But one thing is clear, if the president, well, if the society wakes up and there's fuel shortage all over the country, there's no way you can say it's targeted at APC alone. There are 18 political parties that operate in the same environment. If there's shortage of cash out there, and there's no way, it's idle chatter, or if you say it was targeting a particular political party, all the 18 political parties are operating in this environment. So how APC came to the conclusion that it is targeting them is like, I can only say, well, it's up to them. Maybe ab initio, they had evil plans, which this system has sabotaged, but which the rest of us, 17 political parties, are not going to be victim of.
The issue now of the capacity of your candidate, the Labour Party candidate, Peter Obi, in winning the election. And I make reference again to Governor El-Rufai's statement saying that the race is between the APC and the PDP. He says Peter Obi is a Nollywood actor and he's going nowhere. Those are his words. How do you react to that?
Last time I was here, I did tell you that based on my analysis, APC is not on this ballot. It's getting worse for them. And it's only understandable if somebody like Nasir El-Rufai goes hysterical, calling people names. It's understandable, you know. And but basically, people of your height persuasion are known to be hysterical when things don't go their way. So as I said, I don't want to engage Nasir El-Rufai in idle chatter, but I am confident.
I mean, let's stay on what he said, rather than the personality. No, he has right to his own views. Anyways,
yeah, that is the idle chatter I'm talking about.
But I mean, you can express your views.
Yes.
Could that be seen as an idle chatter too?
Of course, if it's idle chatter, it is.
But if he says that the race is between the APC and PDP, is that an idle chatter?
I can give you my own statistics.
Please go ahead.
I said here that the areas where APC was hoping to cash in, Atiku has chased them out of town. It's clear that places like Borno, they are fighting for their lives. Atiku has moved in. Labour Party has moved in. What this Muslim etiquette has done is to awaken, a sleeping majority. People who never felt they had anything to gain in the political system because they were busy. They had the view that the voting for anybody is moving from one suffering to another. But now they have woken up. Somehow, this APC ticket has woken up people and has exposed APC's failure and has managed to create a link between PDP and APC as those who have been ruling us for years, and the consequence of which we are suffering the way we are doing. So every Nigerian is now determined to have a say in this election, and those who, Nasir El-Rufai, for example, claims that the Christians were not many, that northern Christians are nothing, they are not many. I want him to wait for 25th February and he'll see the shock of his life. You know, when he goes around banding about 5 million, 6 million votes in Kano, he forgets that in that 5 or 6 million, Igbos are about 1 million. Igbos alone, resident in various towns in Kano State. And for the first time, because of the insecurity that his government and their type have created, people couldn't travel to their villages to go and register as it used to be. they register where they are, those factors will play out in this election. Those factors. It's a mistake for you to say that 6 million registered voters in Lagos are all Yorubas. They are not. They comprise Hausas, Igbos, Ibibios, Kanuris, all sorts of people. Those people will vote where they are at. So that 6 million he's boasting about, close to 1 million are Igbos. And I'm sure, I don't think he can boast that those people will vote APC in Kano.
I'll get more of your permutations, especially as Nigerians. We've sent out a poll asking Nigerians what they would like to see the candidates campaign about, because if there are issues of the Naira notes controversies in town, the notes crunch, and also the few cues that we see, does your candidate have answers to it, and how will he go about it? I'll hear your permutation also when we return from this break. Stay with me, Mr. Babachir Lawal, a former SGF. We'll be right back after this break, everyone. Stay with me. Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome back. Don't forget, we told you earlier that you can get your views across to us by tweeting to us on the handles that we have, especially using the hashtag 2023 verdict, and send an email to us also, 2023verdict@channelstv.com. Let's get back to the conversation with my guest tonight. He's a former secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Babachir Lawal, who has since dumped the APC for the support of Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight. Why does, poll after poll, Peter Obi is ahead? Although that those who have criticized the result of some of this poll, why does some of the opposition believe that those polls are inaccurate and Peter Obi does not have a chance?
Because they are living, they have a sense of delusion. Naturally, for every politician that is contesting for election, he thinks he would win. That's why he's contesting. But it gets to a point where you are living under delusion. You don't want to see the facts and accept them as the facts. So the only way I see it is delusion. And like my friend, Bola, for obvious reasons, he has a lot of money that he has been pumping in, and people are after that money, and they continue to feed him with what he wants to hear. For a man who says his life ambition is to be president, any information that you give him that will reinforce that view to him will raise more money for you. So they create a sense of delusion, which only they see the results, but no other person does. It's delusion.
How difficult was it for you to switch allegiance?
It wasn't difficult. It was a matter of principle, really. You know, Bola, as you all know, has been my friend for years, and I've been involved in building up his political system up to a stage. By the time we got to the National Convention of APC, I was actually one of the key members of the system. But as a Christian, as a Northerner, I know the persecutions we suffer on account of us just being Christians. And I felt that now you need to know what the conditions we are living under in the north here as Christians. As you are very well aware, we don't get CO to build churches. And as a common example I used to give, out of 27 federal universities, including the police college and the army and the Air Force, 27, there are only 5 Christian vice chancellors. And similarly for polytechnics, there are only 5 polytechnic rectors. Of 21 colleges of education, for example, there's only 1 provost. Now, the consequences of that to us is that your son, as a Christian, applies to go and read medicine in the university, and he gets 300 credits, for example. He gets to read microbiology, whereas the other people, the other guys, non-Christians, if I want to call them the Muslims or whatever else are their religion, if they get 200, they get to read medicine. So we are living under conditions that are so strenuous, so difficult for us. I mean, if you enter any office in this town, any office, government office, There's no Christian working in these offices that is not pained. You interview him, he said the story, sir, they don't send us on course because we are Christians. Sir, we don't get promotion because we are Christians. Sir, they don't send us on outstation duties so that we don't get allowed because we are Christians. Every northern Christian is feeling constrained, is constricted, no matter your effort. So it got to a stage we felt something must give. And you see, by the grace of God, you know, God works in miraculous ways, they say. God comes and drops on our laps the Muslim ticket, which we consider as the final and conclusive seal of approval of our conditions, and we would not accept it. I mean, it was like a challenge from God. You cross this line, we are finished. So I felt that since all my people, my brothers, my sisters, my colleagues, people we grew up with and so on and so forth, were feeling constrained in doing a Muslim ticket. I mean, you don't lead the people that are not following you. You only end up leading yourself. So I turned back and I look at every Christian in the north will not follow me today, a Muslim ticket. So who am I leading? And of course, I too have been a victim of all these things they are saying. I've been managed to, by the grace of God, progress and scale through. So we all decided that we will not do it.
Mr. Lawal, but you held an enormous power as the SGF.
Yes.
You had powers to change things. Why was it difficult for you to do it?
Let me tell you, even when you become, like President Buhari appoints me as secretary to the government, a lot of them felt that I should be grateful for that privilege, that I don't merit it. It's just a privilege. And therefore, when they come to you with their request, you must honor it, because you must be like a lapdog to them. And of course, you know, I wasn't built that way. And so I started from a conflict all day long. You cannot control me, you cannot manipulate me, you cannot make me feel inferior just because of my... I used to tell them that, well, I'm educated, I was an engineer, I'm an engineer, I have every right to be SGF. I worked hard for Buhari to win the election, I had every right to be SGF. And just because I'm a small tribe and a Christian doesn't disqualify me.
So it was difficult for you to change things around?
It was a war. I can tell you, the day I took over the office, there were some people I know who swore that they must get me out of office.
So now I'd like to ask you, one of the evils of, or the clutches around the wheel of progress in government, and you will see the Oronsai report as reviewed as much, is the process and the structures of government, the civil service and all of that.
Yes.
You think that your candidate, Peter Obi, has a chance of winning this election. What is your biggest fear in that strata, the government, the civil service, that you think may hold him back?
The way I see it, I illustrate it to you by example. Some 3 years ago, some nomadic herdsmen, I think they are Fulanis, entered my farm, eating up my crops. They poured their cattle onto my farm. Luckily, I was there. We chased them out and arrested about 4 of them and took them to the police station. At the police station, they were boasting. They were boasting. Don't you know that this is our government? Do you think that we can come here without somebody authorizing us to do? Of course, as a former AGF, I knew they were just talking nonsense. Nobody could have told them to enter my farm. But they had the perception that because they are Fulanis and their brother is in government, they could do whatever they liked. Now, for as long as their brother is not in the government as they think, their arrogance will automatically go down to maybe our level, if not lower. So it is important that we fight this arrogance of both the privileged and the underprivileged by thinking that they can do whatever they want to do and get away with it without this. Quite a lot of things happen if I think the impunity will not be there if a person other than a northerner becomes president. I would think, for example, like what happened to this Deborah girl in Sokoto, where a little girl just posted something on the social app of her school. She was chased down, killed, and butchered and burnt alive. And as we talk, we don't know anybody that has been arrested or has been tried for her murder. Now, I would think that a different president would create an enabling environment in which, when you behave that way, you'll be brought to book.
All right. So we're asking people about what they would like the candidates to focus on in their campaigns, and perhaps when they get into office, what they would like them to focus on. And most of this issue lies around the issue of economy, the electricity. With what you know in government, what are the solutions Peter Obi is bringing on board? What do you think can make him be a successful president should he be elected on the 25th of February?
The electricity industry is a very complex system. First of all, it has to be generated efficiently. Then that is, the government has privatized the generating companies. They are now called GENCOs. It's privatized. Now they generate the electricity, and it is wheeled, that is in a way transported through the transmission lines. The transmission lines are owned by government. Federal government owns the transmission lines, because at the time they were privatizing, I think the argument was that it would not be economical or expedient to privatize the transmission lines. Now, at the other end are the distribution companies, the DISCOs. Now, herein lies the problem. Now, the DISCO can only pick electricity that it can sell. For as long as it doesn't have market for what it can pick, it doesn't want, electricity cannot be stored like generators. They are like, I mean, like diesel in a tank. You must sell it. So if the DISCO cannot sell the electricity it is picking from the transmission lines, it runs at a loss.
So there's a possibility of winning the war on lack of electricity in Nigeria.
Yeah, very hard.
And you think Peter Obi has the capacity to do
Peter
that?
Obi has the capacity to do it. Incidentally, I mean, the manifesto is clear about that. Peter Obi too is, he calls himself a trader and industrialist, and we all understand that without electricity, you can begin to do nothing in terms of economic development or infrastructure.
All right. Let's anchor on this note. I know that you've been in politics for some time, and you understand the last time you were making permutations on how this will go. Just a quick permutation. A lot has happened since the last time, and it's just 20 days away. And I mean, you politicians will say a day is a long time in politics. How do you see things panning out? Where are those areas you think perhaps might be difficult for the Labour Party or Peter Obi to make an inroad?
I don't see. Well, maybe the way I put it this way. First of all, as I said, we don't see APC on this ticket. We don't. I mean, our own in Labour Party.
So the race is between you and who?
The race is between PDP and Labour Party. And yes, it is true, the large voting populations, Sokoto, Kano, in the north, the larger populations in the north might go PDP. So their chance of getting a large number of votes is high. But we are eating into it. As I did say here before, it's wrong to assume that because Kano has 5 million registered voters, they are all going to vote PDP, because APC is not there. Of course, Kano is going to Kwankwaso, they are son of the soil. If let's take son of the soil syndrome, Kano will take, Kwankwaso will take Kano. Maybe PDP will come close second, and then we, Labour Party, will pack the balance. And we do think that, I will not leak some of our permutation secrets, but I know that there are quite about 6 or 7 local governments in Kano that we are very hopeful.
But you think that this election will end on the first ballot?
That's what I'm trying to say. Our strategy now is to deny Atiku the possibility of getting 24 states. If we can deny him some of the key areas, we'll win this election on first ballot.
Mr. Babachir Lawal, a former secretary to the government of the Federation and a supporter of Peter Obi and the Labour Party in this election. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight. It's a pleasure seeing you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.